The following podcast has been recorded by the LIM.
From taverns across Chicagoland to St. Joe's Park in Joliet to the world of podcasting, they're upholding the good name of Chet Gunderson and letting the old styles flow. They are the lovely, intoxicated men. And this is the Lovely Intoxicated Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 3 of the Lovely Intoxicated Podcast. I am your host, TX, and Gabagool is out this week getting swabbed for Italian, lack of a better way to put it. So we'll have Josh, the Gilla Monster, filling in for me as we interview our guest today, Gunner Brave.
Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Gilla,
I'm drunk. Let's get this over with.
You need a couple drinks to drink with us. But first, I got to ask a question to Gilla. Gilla, where the hell are you?
I'm in this very lovely kitchen that looks like your kitchen.
Want to look behind you a second?
Oh, hey, bud.
Want to come in here and do the interview?
I kind of thought this is how we planned to do this, but sure.
Oh my God. All right. So here he comes, Gilla Monster. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So thank you for Gunner, how you doing today, brother?
Oh, it's a lovely day. The sun is shining, the alcohol is flowing, and I'm damn attractive.
Well, we are happy to have you on. We've been planning this for quite a while.
Figured you needed a beer.
Oh, you know what? I'm drinking the hard stuff. Good old water.
All right. Oh, well.
Gotta stay hydrated. It's hot out. It's a drought.
I'll just put that in there. It's sitting next to us.
Guys, what I pregame for this thinking you guys would be sauce once I got on here.
Oh man, if Gabagool could see you right now with that Bloody Mary.
I got the best Bloody Marys in the Midwest.
So we're gonna do this show a little differently. If anybody has watched the Broken Skull session, it's one of my favorite interview shows. And I think with Gunner, we're gonna, give a bit of a retrospective of his time so far in Rocket Pro Wrestling. But there is a little known fact about Gilla Monster and Gunner Brave, and they do know each other outside of Rocket Pro Wrestling. So Josh, I know you want to talk with Gunner about, some stuff, and you want to take the first couple questions. And
We've known each other for quite some time, pretty much your whole life. Leading all the way up until I actually went to high school. But we wrestled in my backyard.
Yes.
On a trampoline for my 8th grade graduation.
I was Shawn Michaels and you were Triple H. We were DX. And I don't know who we beat up, but we beat those J Groans all across the Gillahan backyard.
Yes, we did. Sometimes did some really stupid shit.
All right. So I'm going to have a question for both of you guys. What was some of that stupid shit you guys did? But the most stupid shit you guys did?
I'll let Gunner take the lead on that.
Listen, I was a yarder, I just was jumping off everything. Kind of what you see now, like in the ring. That was me back then too. Just, I'm a small kid. I just throw my body anywhere and just hope that I don't die.
So, would you say you're? And I've always kind of said this is kind of like a blueprint for your future. Would you say you kind of are like a Darby Allin of sorts?
I modeled myself mainly around like prime TNA X division. That's what I watched for a lot of my inspiration. That's what I kind of grew up on.
Got you.
So then, Gunnar, when you were starting to think about what got your interest in professional wrestling, like what was your first wrestling memory?
Um, I don't. My first like centralized wrestling memory is different because I was watching wrestling since like before I can remember. Like everyone's like, "What did you watch as a kid?" SpongeBob, whatever, whatever. Can I swear in this?
We you used our one F bomb, but we usually don't give a fuck.
All right, cool. So I would watch. Everyone's like, "What do you watch?" SpongeBob, whatever. I always watch wrestling. So I don't have a centralized moment when I started watching wrestling. But like the one that sticks out the most would be like the retirement match between Flair and Michaels for Mania. Like that's like the one that made me go like, okay, this is what I want to do. Because it was the first time that wrestling like, because I would always watch wrestling when I was sad to cheer me up. It was the first time that wrestling actually brought me down because like the Flair retirement. So not down in a bad way, but like made me feel emotion. So that's when I realized that this lovely sport of ours is able to bring people out of their world and into ours. And I'm like, okay, well, if I can do that and um, I can be what I needed as a kid to the kids of the future, even like the grown adults of the future. That's what I want to do. So that's kind of when I decided I wanted to be a wrestler.
So then, graduate high school, and you decide to go train, and you find a lot of people know that you were trained under Seth Rollins, current WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and Merrick Brave. So tell us how you found that school. Tell us what that first day was like for you, and favorite stories from working with Seth Rollins.
Um, so I looked at a lot of schools. Of course, looked at like the Chicago scene to see what's going on with that. I looked into the freelancers. I looked into the Chicago styles. For a while, I was set on like a school called WWA4 down in Georgia, because I didn't really know much of Black and Brave at the time, but I found them and I was like, you know what, this seems like the best place to start. And when I decided to go there, it wasn't well received in the Brave household, but I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it regardless. And the first day I was there, they just murder you with conditioning to see if you have what it takes to be a wrestler. And because I've done sports my entire life and I kept myself in shape, I've done like wrestling and basketball and track and field and strongman competitions and powerlifting. I'm in decent shape, so I kind of kept up with it. And it just felt for the first time like I had a purpose, because I would go through school and learn math and science and Spanish for 2 years, and that was terrible. I couldn't recite anything in Spanish. I did drama for 2 years, which actually kind of helps. But like everything I did, nothing felt true to me. When I started wrestling, it was the first time I felt like this is my placement in life. So my entire demeanor changed when I turned 18. My favorite story from Black and Brave, though, is obviously my wrestling surname is Brave.
I love this.
And I remember week 2 of training, I went up to Merrick Brave and I said, "Hey, what are your thoughts on me taking your surname in wrestling?" Because everyone obviously goes to Black and Brave and say, "I was trained by Seth Rollins," which I love the fact that I was trained by Seth Rollins, but a lot of people kind of like overshadowed the Merrick Brave aspect, who's done a lot of things. So I wanted to do like an homage to that. And he looked me in the eyes. He said, "If you don't suck, we'll talk about it." So I respect that. So we were supposed to have a promo clash with Jimmy Jacobs. So Jimmy Jacobs came in. Everyone had to make like a minute-long promo, like about each other or about whatever. I cut a minute-long promo on Merrick Brave, just completely taking shots at him nonstop. And the go-home line was something like, "When the dust has settled on my career, I'll be the first Brave known for more than just their tag partner." And I looked at him. I let that sit for a second, and he looked at me. And I went to him after class, and he goes, "You know what? Yeah, it's fine. Use the name." So I kind of earned his respect in that aspect for having the balls to like kind of like take a little brother shot at him. So that's probably my favorite memory from Black and Brave.
All right. And I've heard that story before. I love that story so much. But then you're training a little bit. You come back home to Joliet. and Rocket Pro Wrestling is just starting up. So
Yes.
how did you connect with the Shelleys and Rocket Pro?
So I'd only been to one independent show ever before I started training for wrestling. It was PW Blitz 2011, 2012, one of those, like, there were massive shows like Abyss and Booker T and Sabu and all them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Grin was there. Yeah, Grin was there, which was great for me because I've faced Grin before, so it was cool, like a coming of age thing. So that's all I knew of the Joliet scene. And I heard some rumors of, like, not going to get into the weeds of things, but like it ended pretty sour with Blitz. So I thought that was it for the Joliet scene. So I was in Davenport training, and I kind of was like, I was running low on money because I was still, I think I just turned 19, about to turn 19. I was real low on money, so I moved home, and I heard not rumors, but like words of like, there's a wrestling company in Joliet, like 10 minutes from my parents' house. So I hit him up, and I was like, hey, I'm from the city. I feel like I can benefit your show by bringing a lot of my friends that have never seen me wrestle. How would you feel about it? They said, well, come meet us and let's go. So the first Rocket Pro show I was at, I actually filmed. I was the roaming camera guy. And just paying my dues, setting up the ring, filming the show, taking down the ring. And then they asked me if I would like to come to their house and meet them. So I went and met them, and I had dinner with them. And they kind of told me the story of how Rocket Pro was formed, with Maximus Orion having a wrestling ring and then wanting to do a show and everything. And they asked me what my goal is, and I kind of just explained to them my story of why I wrestle and how I go from there. And they said, okay, well, we have this 4-way match for you. It should be you, Caesar Dragon, Devin August, and Skylar Reed. And okay, what's after that? Why are we doing this match? They go, well, we're just doing this match. I said, nope, let's make something out of it. And we made something out of it, and we kept growing from there. And the success of the Gunner versus Skylar storyline kind of showed the Shelleys that I might be a young kid with damn near a death wish, but I have a heart for the business and I want it to grow. So that's how we became really close and interweaved. And then at some point, they decided to make me one of the focal points of the company, and I am extremely grateful for what they've given me. And it's just been a really happy and healthy partnership between myself and the Shelleys and Rocket Pro.
Yeah, and I remember, one of my first shows there, I believe that was around the time when you were starting. I think it was your first or second show that I was at with Tony Gabagool. Our first experience with Rocket Pro, and that was like one of those feuds that really brought us in, kept us coming back. And I know the feud with Skylar was really, really important to you, and I know you've talked about it online. You and I have talked about it, after shows and stuff. So, what did that feud with Skylar mean to you?
So the Skylar Reed feud was only, if I'm correct, 3 matches, which is wild to think about because it happened right at the beginning of COVID and was cut abruptly from COVID. Mm-hmm. So we had a 4-way match, which ended with a post-match attack from Skylar. Mm-hmm. The next show, we were both banned from the show. So after the show, he came out and he addressed me, and I was there. It's my hometown. I'm going to be there. And we had a big brawl. And that's when J-Back, who was at the moment GM, decided the next show, you guys are going to have a no-holds-barred match at the end of the show. And it was like 30, 40 minutes or some wild shit like that. And we were just beating each other senseless. And then we had one more match after that. And then we got shut down. So, if truthfully, not to pat myself on the back, but if I think what was one of the most pivotal feuds in Rocket Pro to not yield their success, but contribute to their success, Brave and Reed freaking spits right there. I'm getting you. I'm getting your PG rating.
Appreciate
Raven
you, brother.
spits prominently right there because I think if I'm correct, and I could be wrong, because I am intoxicated. The 40-minute weapons match we had was the first time Rocket Pro had standing room only, or maybe first time they reached 300 or standing room, one of those two. So that's the first time I realized, like, with proper storytelling, you can do anything. Because I always knew I can do the flips, I can do the crazy falls, I have a crazy high pain tolerance, I can do whatever I feel like. But there's only so much you can do out of that. If you construct something properly where the fans can understand why this is happening, so they're more emotionally involved in it, that's when it kind of clicked to me, like, wrestling is more than just he did a cool Spanish fly or he did a cool backflip. Wrestling is this guy hates this guy for this reason. I like this guy for this reason, hate this guy for this reason. So I'm going to come to watch them fight. On a personal note, it was a feud that taught me a lot about conducting myself as a professional. And on a wrestling note, it's a feud that I believe kind of set Rocket Pro on pace to become what it is today.
I can definitely say that is the case, because that feud, someone shared it. I don't know if it was you or someone shared it to me. And that's what I started following it on the YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And then, fast forward to Kicks on 66 of last year. That was my first show.
Okay.
So,
And going back to what you were saying about like storytelling in the ring, I'm actually like looking to get into the business and expand my capacity a little bit. And I've been sitting under the learning trees of a lot of folks, some folks in Rocket Pro, having conversations with them, about that. And, definitely like that's the biggest thing is like, everything that you do in the ring has to make sense.
Yeah.
For the audience to connect with that. So like I'll get sent some matches and I'll watch some stuff and I'll see like, I'm starting to like piece together where things that people do make sense, don't make sense. And, I'm definitely grateful for that opportunity. I knew you and I have talked about, some psychology stuff, I've talked about it with others. So like really learning a lot about that. I definitely do agree that, the story in the ring, that's one of the most important things to get the audience, invested.
Of course. I feel like, again, I love patting myself in the back, but not to do it too much. I feel like season finale of last season, me and Connor's third match, the story it in itself, I believe, was a great match. But the story for our longtime fans, I really feel we told a beautiful story there. I had beaten Connor twice, so that's why he wanted to try a few falls. I've beaten all the Coyotes. I had beat Des Chain. I had done the bloody match with Berna. I had been Christian Rose's first ever loss. I think is only one of two guys to beat him clean, and I beat Connor twice. So we have this Trophy Falls match planned, and going into the match, I hadn't been pinned in near 1,000 days without being pinned. I had been the champion for 500 days. So we were 2 out of 3 falls. So going into the match, I was the aggressor. I was very much so on top of things. I was kind of cocky, and my arrogance kind of like led Connor to take advantage of it and give me one of the nastiest falls of my entire life, the J Driller off the apron. And I'm sitting there and I'm kind of laying on the ground and I'm trying to get the feeling back to my legs and my arms because I could not move for a solid minute. The ref came out to check on me and I was like, you know what? I will be fine. Just count because I don't want the integrity of the match to fall. I'm trying to like regain the feeling in my body. And that's where the first fall happens is the count out. So I get back in the ring and now Connor's the aggressor. because I'm messed up. So we switched. It was a good guy match, but the aggressors switched, and I'm on the defense. But if you realize, Connor still has not pinned me, you know? So the story was still Connor has to finally pin Gunner Brave for the first time in 1,000 days to become the champion. So I kept kicking out everything because, like, I got a damn good pain tolerance for some reason. I don't know why. And I get my fall back, and then we're just back where we started. If you remember, return from COVID, the first match was Connor Hopkins versus Gunner Brave. We went to time of a draw, and we went back 5 more minutes and started just going fireworks, you know?
That, yeah.
And that's where we were. I looked at Connor across the ring. Falls are tied 1-1, and I saw the same man I saw when we returned from COVID. I saw a man that wanted it, and I respect, and we were right back to throwing bombs at each other. And that time he got the better of me. And for the first time in 1,000 days, for the single moment right there, Connor dethroned the unbeatable champion. And that match in its own, I think, made Kickzone 66 a beautiful show, just to show Connor's growth and my growth of being the bad guy and being the good guy, shaking his hand and everything. And I feel that match was probably my best match when it comes to telling a long-term story and benefiting from that. So that's, like you said, storytelling in wrestling is one of the most beautiful things you can do if it's done properly.
Certainly agree. Now going back, and I mean, we're kind of still staying on in Coyote country, as
Okay.
it were. Pandemic shuts everything down. I'm sure that's brutal for independent wrestling as an industry.
Oh yeah.
Independent wrestlers who, make their money on the weekends when all these shows are shut down. How did Best in the Midwest come about?
So Best in the Midwest happened because I was going to the Shelleys once a month, and I was recommending them talent, and I was kind of so I get a text or call from Bill Shelley, and he goes, "Hey, we're having dinner on this date at this time. I would like you to be there." So it was myself, all the Shelleys, and Kevin Palmer sitting at a table for dinner. And that's when Bill drops the bombshell, like, "Hey, we're shut down. We've gotten word we're shut down. We can only have X amount of people." He's kind of stressing out in terms of how are we going to keep our fan base, because we were building at that time. That was fresh off of me and Skylar, and also the feud had gone at that time. So we were building. He goes, "We're going to lose everybody. We're shut down for an unknown amount of time." And I said, "Okay, well, and I don't want to take credit for it, but I had the idea of doing a one-day tournament, getting whatever amount of people we could do there, finding 16 dudes who, because I knew I'm an independent wrestler. I know the feeling where you just want to wrestle. I told them, I said, "Hey, you can message 16 dudes right now. Would you want to do this?" And I said, "We can do this, get 16 shows, 16 wrestlers, double elimination," which I think was like 30 something matches, 31, 32 matches. I said, "Release a match or two a week. Then you have 32 to 18 weeks of product to distribute." And Kevin messaged a lot of our roster. I messaged a lot of guys that weren't on the roster. That's how we got like the Coyotes, et cetera, with some me bringing them to best in the Midwest. And I said, let's find a day. Let's get all we can fit in there for production and wrestling. And let's just hammer out in 9 hours a 16-man bracket. And we did. And it sucked a lot.
And I'm sure it's hard, because wrestling is something that relies on fan interaction. And, when you have no fans at St. Joe's Park, an arena I think all three of us know is one of the rowdiest, damn places you can watch professional wrestling. I'm sure, nobody to feed off of you, or you to feed off of them. Sure, that makes it a lot more challenging to, uh, you know, to work.
Yeah, I was, I think, 19 or just had turned 20 at the time. So I was really fresh into my wrestling career, and I'd only wrestled maybe not in front of a lot of crowds, but like there's always been a crowd there. So Best in the Midwest was the first time that I had to wrestle crowdless. And me being a very like I feed off the energy of the crowd, good guy or bad guy, I feed off the crowd more than I think the crowd even believes. Cause like if they're cheering, my pain goes away, you know? So for a lot of the guys, you're going out there, it's just you, another guy, and a ref, and two commentators. And that's it. And you have to go out there and put your body in the line to the best of your abilities. It was real tough to find, like, I don't want to say the motivation, but honestly the motivation to keep going. I would take nasty falls and feel like, you know what, I there's no one here. I should just give up to preserve my body. But I realized the bigger picture and realized that this would build me to the future and lead me to become what I inevitably have come today. So it was very challenging to find like the drive to keep going. But all of us that were there did find it at some point, and it led to, I would say, the main reason that Rocket Pro thrived through COVID, if that makes sense.
So, you talked a little bit a while back about an incident, a scary that you had in the ring. If you want to talk about that, you're more than welcome to, but I don't think a lot of people know that story.
February 20th of 2021, I had a show in. Shut up, Xbox. I had a show in Terre Haute, Indiana for New Wave Pro. It was myself versus Conan Lycan versus Campbell Myers versus Jay Marston in a four-way. And at one point of the match, I was going to do a moonsault off the top turnbuckle to the floor, which is something I've done many times before and many times since. And I don't know if the turnbuckle rolled or my foot slipped or something, but I undershot and under rotated, and I landed on the back of my skull, and I got a laceration, pretty freaking long back here. And the impact caused me to have, I think, 2 or 3 seizures on the spot.
Oh my God.
A lot of blood loss, and I believe my heart stopped for a minute or two. And
Wow.
I mean, I've talked to, because obviously I wasn't conscious during any of it. I was out of it. But I've talked to, like, Solomon Tupu was there watching, and then I've talked to Conan Lycan about it, and Campbell and Jay and Tupu. And Conan told me that as I'm sitting there just completely tensed up, he is holding my head up and holding my tongue so I don't swallow it. So it was very traumatic for those guys. Obviously, me, I wasn't there for it, so I don't know. I woke up, came to in the ambulance, and for some reason I thought it was 7 years old for like 5 minutes, which is weird. I went to the hospital. They ran like CT scans and everything, even an ultrasound. I wasn't pregnant, thankfully. Yeah, I got the ultrasound. They stapled my head shut, and they're like, "Hey, you can leave if you want, but we'd probably recommend you to stay here tonight." I said, "Okay, cool. Hospital bills. I'll see you guys later." And I left. And then we went to Cracker Barrel that night. And got some good Cracker Barrel, of course. And then I went home to Joliet for about a week to recover. And a week after that, I took the staples out in my kitchen, because you can buy staples Like they're actually like I had a 6-man tag street fight where I was taking like pile drivers on chairs and stuff. So really bad experience, but definitely didn't slow me down at all. Honestly, it made me think I'm kind of immortal, so it probably did screw me up in the long run, but it's okay. It's okay.
And I mean, that's a real scary thing. And like, for you to have like the sense of humor about it that you have when your life was on the line, and I'm sure it, definitely scary for people watching live. I know you've trained with, all the guys you mentioned. So, like brothers watching their brother, go through this traumatic ordeal. But, obviously we're all glad you're okay. And just, for anybody too, this is why they always say wrestling isn't ballet. Anything can happen at any time. So you got to be real, real careful. But then after, some more time has passed, finally things start opening up again. Rocket Pro is back up and running. And we come back and, almost immediately you find yourself in the Outer Limits title picture. And I still remember that show, December 2021.
Yeah.
Aaron Stone is the champion and Brooks Berna.
Yep.
And I watched the match earlier today, preparing for this interview, and you throw Brooks into the crowd. And if you watch the footage back real carefully, you'll see a very early version of the LIM right as you're diving from the top of the ring post into a sea of what I can only assume to be Rocket Boys.
No, they're my friends. Like I told them, I was like, hey, sit here. I just jumped on them.
So I do remember, so I was sitting at the very, very end.
Okay.
Didn't know what was going on, drunk and all of that, LIM.
Yeah.
And one of the guys looks at me and goes, you should probably move a little bit that way. So I was like, all right, I don't know what's happening, but okay. And then I see you come flying into them. One of the craziest damn things I've ever seen. Literally right next to me.
Yeah.
And that was a fantastic competitive match where you started a 500 plus day Outer Limits Championship reign. But not only that, 513 days, I think we made the count.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, what did that Outer Limits Championship win mean to you?
At first, absolutely nothing. And I'll explain that to you. See, I was coming fresh off of Best in the Midwest at that point. I had just ran through some of the best people that Rocket Pro could throw at me. And I thought, like, okay, I won Best in the Midwest. Where's my title shot? I just proved myself, and I come back and I have just a basic match. And that's it. And then I say that, hey, I think I deserve a title match. And they say, okay, well, you have to win this match to earn it. And I'm like, did I not just earn it with my showing in this tournament that gave you guys product through COVID? Like, I just killed myself for 8 matches in one day, and I won. And I have this. And I have this ungodly tall trophy.
That is a massive trophy.
I got this ungodly tall trophy, and like, what do I get out of it? Absolutely nothing. So I felt like getting a shot at the Outer Limits title initially was a consolation prize, if that makes sense. Like, I won this tournament, I should get the main title, not the mid-card title. And I was given a chance to make the Outer Limits title, and I was very disgruntled. That's how I ended up linking up with the Idols at that time. And as I held the Outer Limits title and kept putting on, show stealing matches, in my opinion, every single month, I realized, like, listen, this doesn't need to be the main title for me to make it the main title. So that's when I kind of decided, like, I'm going to take this Outer Limits title and make it the must-see title in Rocket Pro. So as egotistical as it sounds, I didn't really start to appreciate my own run until about midway through it.
And you did bring a lot of prestige to that title. And we're going to talk about some of those matches as we, continue on here this afternoon. I mean, matches against Marche, against Conan, Tupu, Campbell Myers, Storm Grayson, which is one of my all-time favorite Rocket Pro Wrestling matches. I mean, Connor Hopkins, when you went against Connor Hopkins, Axel Rico, the names of the people, Shogun, Chris Logan, the names of the people, the veterans, the legends that you've gone up against and defended that title against, it's nothing to sneeze at. And every single match that you had with that title, that you had defending that title, gave it a lot of prestige. And, I have a sponsor for this show, and it is because here's the thing. Do you want to have banger after banger after banger after banger? Then you're going to want to drink Gunner Brave Banger Energy.
Yeah.
This is the type of drink when you want to have a 5-star match at the Tokyo Dome, but make it 6 stars at St. Joe's Park. So Gunner Brave Banger Energy.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't recommend having Gunner Brave banger after banger after banger because that's a lot of caffeine. You don't want to stop your heart.
Yeah. No, don't do that.
Don't do that. No. So, joining the Idols, a lot of that frustration you were just talking about was, related to you, not getting those shots at the main title. So, obviously you had a lot of gripes with management, but even then, you still had an incredibly violent lights out match against Brooks Burna, Cupid's Carnage 2022. I was not there for that show, but that was the highlight of the matches when I was going back and making sure I was still caught up on the shows and just, all the weapons that you brought into the match. The doors covered in cut up pop cans.
Yeah.
The barbed wire, or not barbed wire, the thumbtack wrapped bat, pulling apart the ring, taking the match right to the wood that's underneath the canvas and the foam padding underneath. Levels of violence that are, that's just unprecedented and, hard to see, not usually seen in Rocket Pro. Plus, most recent time, was against Eric Dillinger back in this past February. So when it comes to having, the matches with that levels of violence, what goes into your prep work for that?
God, I have a weird February kink, don't I?
Sure do.
So for me, like, everyone hits that moment. Every wrestling fan is the moment where wrestling becomes no longer cool to watch once you hit that age, right? So for me, my way of still being a wrestling fan and being cool was watching deathmatch wrestling, CZW, all that kind of stuff, right? So I have developed a love for the art of deathmatch wrestling. Me and Nick Gage had a good 30-minute discussion about how the art of deathmatch wrestling is a thing. So I love weapons, man. It's because I grew up on that to still be one of the cool kids. And it really became a part of my desire for wrestling, where I wanted to show that I'm not just a wrestler, but I can get violent, But I also wanted to be, when I got violent, for it to be done in a professional way. So that's kind of how we've adopted Cupid's Carnage to be my one time a year Rocket Pro, where I can just go out there and just let all of my young 20s angst out in the ring. And so far it's been me and Skylar, me and Berna, me and Dillinger. 3 back-to-back Februarys, obviously with the one missing one from COVID, just having really violent matches. When it comes to preparing for a match like that, it's a different world. I know how I wrestle. I'm gonna run really fast. I'm gonna start throwing my body around, and I'm gonna try to stomp your head onto the ground. That's how I wrestle. Preparing for a weapons match, you're not preparing to do, you're preparing to take. I don't go into a match thinking, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then do this. I go into a weapons match thinking, I might take this. If I do, how do I come back? So I wrestle weapons matches a lot more defensively minded, knowing what's going to happen to me and kind of mentally preparing myself for the pain I'm going to endure and how to come back from that. So that's my mindset going into what I know to be a weapons match.
And both matches were incredibly violent. I know, what was it? The last match, we had the door frame that was wrapped in barbed wire.
Yeah.
And, both matches just completely terrific.
I think the words I used to describe helping him put that door frame together was, "You are insane."
I did build that. Yeah, no, I did build that. Yeah.
You helped build that?
Bad idea in retrospect.
Oh.
It was, in retrospect, terrible idea because it hurt a lot, but I shouldn't have done it. But it's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
So LIM has helped Gunner Brave make some instruments of destruction. So Eric Dillinger, if you are listening, I had nothing to do with it. It was all him.
It'll be all right. It'll be all right. Don't worry about it.
To be honest, it was more Gunner's idea. It wasn't so much me. He just enlisted my help to build it. That was the only part I had to,
I said, bro, just stand there and hold it while I grab this barbed wire.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we were just sitting there, talking for about the entire time while he did that. But
it was a great time.
It was. We're fast forwarding to the to you joining the Idols.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a
basically
thing.
It seemed like you had grievances with J-Beck, and how did that lead to the attack of the Shelleys?
So like I said, I felt entitled to more, like I said, I thought the Outer Limits title was a consolation prize, because the main title scene for a while was just like big bulky dudes, doing all the whatever, and I was like, I've beaten half these guys. Why don't I get a title match? So I felt very disrespected by J-Beck and the Shelleys when it came to not giving me what I thought was my due. I was given just a consolation. And then I let Joey Roth get in my ear a bit and kind of infect how I thought about things. And he really made me think the correlation was the Shelleys, that it was their fault I wasn't getting where I should. And I think that Joey Roth saw me as a tool to get him where he is today, which is what I was. If you think back, I was a tool to get him where he is today. Well, not anymore because he lost to main event Steve and Michelle. So he kind of infected how I thought and made me think that it was the Idols versus the Shelleys. And I came to a breaking point, and I snapped one day, and I assaulted Bill and Maximus and threatened to assault Michelle. It was a really low point in who I am as a person, but I was young and impressionable, and Joey saw that and took advantage of it.
And I mean, you got the whole city of Joliet, your hometown, to turn against you. We were going back and talking about the Idols versus Team RPW.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to jump back in with that?
So you ended up being the sole survivor
Yeah.
of the Idols,
Yeah.
courtesy of a referee, Damian Saint,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
basically handing you and the Idols victory.
Okay. Yeah.
How were you feeling at that point?
So, fun fact, I don't remember that match.
Oh.
At some point in the very offset of the match, after Johnny and I gets eliminated, all the Team RPW guys take turns just beating the mess out of me. All right. At some point in that moment, I got a pretty legit concussion, and I don't remember that match at all. It was like a few days after they posted pictures, and I remember messaging Damian Gray like, "Yo, we took shots in the ring. That's wild." So I the first time for me seeing what happened that match was me like a week and a half later watching the match back when it got posted. Um, I knew how big the match was, not just for the Idols, not just for Team RPW, but for Rocket Pro as a whole, for it to be such a high stakes profile match with like, I mean, just look at the scape of that match. It was myself and all of the Idols with the newly joined Rock and Rivera versus like Shogun, Marche, Grin, Christian Rose, and now our current champion Aaron Stone. It was the best match we could put on at that moment. It was a massive match, which is why I'm really grateful that my consciously unconscious self kind of held it together a bit. I was really worried about that, but watching the match back, I kind of realized how I watched it back, and when I watched my matches back, I tried to watch at first from a wrestler's perspective and second from a fan's perspective. So the first time I watched it was like, how can I improve? The second one is like, as a fan, what did I like, what did I not like? And as when I watched it back the second time and kind of disconnected from my wrestling brain, I realized how pivotal this match would be for the progression of Rocket Pro as a whole, and like all the layers it put there, because like that match added Grin and Rose again and Shogun to my hit list of people I've beaten. It furthered the rivalry between Shogun and Marche. It threw in the wrench of Damian Saint to the group. It was the first time that I showed dissension to the Idols from not being happy to win that way. That match in itself was probably the biggest plot device Rocket Pro has put on growing towards the future when it comes to a psychology and storytelling aspect.
So with that dissension, was that why there was a little bit of hesitation after the match at times?
Yes. So, oh, there's an ice cream truck going by. Wow. You guys don't listen to. Oh, there it is. Sweet CHARA. Wait, CHARDAE. Is that sure? What? Okay. Question. Sorry. Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
I'm a very proud wrestler of my own. Like, I know I'm not the biggest guy or the strongest guy, but I'm always very proud of my kind of like, I'm gonna swear, fuck it, I'll get it done. That's how I always look at things. Like, no matter what I'm in, fuck it, I'll get it done somehow. You know, whether it be in wrestling or life. The rent's due, fuck it, I'll get it done. You know, that kind of stuff. So I didn't like that. Oh, I was looking at your posters back there. I'm looking at the Kicks on 66 one, the 5-on-5 match right now, the poster for that, which is a great poster actually.
Classic Rocket Pro poster.
I'll grab it. Hold on, guys. I got it. Give me
All right.
6.
Let's see it.
Look how big this match is, guys.
I mean, biggest match in Rocket Pro history.
It's wild.
Arguably.
Undoubtedly the most, as to date, the biggest match we've put on when it comes to like severity. God, what was the dissension? Yeah. So I didn't like the fact that Roth had a backup plan if I thought to be losing. So it kind of rubbed me the wrong way that in his mind there was a possibility where I lost, right? Because like I think it was Shogun hits me with a super kick, and then before the pin even goes, Saint hits him with the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say I couldn't have kicked out and came back? I've done that. Gunner Brave kicking out and coming back is my entire motto. You know, like, all right, give me your best move. I'm gonna kick out, and I'm start beating you up. You know, that's what I do. And then so it upset me that way. And then the return show, they thanked everybody, and they said the most important part of all of it was, Damian Saint really forgot to like thank me at all. And then like from then on, like every match I was in, the Idols had my back when I didn't really think I needed it. It felt like they lost faith in me as a performer. And whether it be an ego thing or a self-respect thing, whatever line you want to toe there, I really felt that there was no trust in me to get the job done. And it started, festering up. And I think they saw it starting to boil over. And before I could pull the trigger, they did. And they violently excommunicated me from the Idols before I could do it for myself.
So we fast forward a little bit, and I think like even that night when the Idols came back to assert their control, I think from our section we kept noticing as you were sitting up on the turnbuckle, you keep looking to the fans. And, I think there's definitely if the hesitation wasn't shown before, the hesitation was definitely shining through there. And I think it put a chip on your shoulder. Then comes
Yeah. Because the way I looked at things is once I joined the Idols, it was like Idols matches where they're helping each other out, and then Garner Braves match where he's getting the job done. So every show, Idols match with interference, Garner Brave getting the job done. So I didn't want to say I was the leader, but I felt myself to be almost the trump card, if that makes sense. We're like, all right, you might be able to get past these guys, but once Gunner steps up, that kid kicks out of everything, and it became slightly apparent to me April before the match. And then in May, like at that point I kind of knew like, hey, these guys need me. If I'm gone, they're not winning this match. And then the exact first moment of the match is I'm in the ring confidently, and Johnny Nye tags himself in and says, "Get back, kid, I got it." And at that moment, I was kind of like, listen, these guys don't care about me. They just want to use me to progress myself. And then I was having a bit of inner turmoil of like, listen, they're using me, but them using me has put me on a really good seat right now because now these guys have control. So it became a bit of like what's best for my career versus what's best for me as the person. And at first it was like, listen, these guys will put me to the mountaintop. I'll be exactly where I want to be. But as time led on, it really became like, well, what makes me happy, you know? And even today, I kind of toe the line between like, am I a good guy? Am I a bad guy? I don't know. I'm making myself happy right now. And really in that, it was the BXB4 with myself, like in Tupu and Myers, where I kind of realized, like, listen, I just put on this, we just had this crazy good match, and I won it by myself, defied all the odds and won it by myself. And that's when it kind of really tricked me, like, listen, I don't think I need them. Um, and that's when I decided that I was going to excommunicate myself completely and kind of like step up to them. And obviously, then they jumped me after the match, but like it really was an inner struggle of, like you saw in the big promo there. I wasn't sure what I valued more at that moment: happiness of self versus progression of career. And through the following months of Rocket Pro is when you kind of saw me prioritize myself as a person rather than myself as a professional.
And I mean, like, I remember over the summer that before all of that, that summer, we ran into each other at the Hot Sauce Expo, and you had a match against Storm Grayson.
Mm-hmm.
Easily stole the weekend at the Hot Sauce Expo. But then, come October, we hear the rumblings that Storm is coming through to Gunner's house.
Yes.
Which turned out to be one of the greatest matches in Rocket Pro history, easily. So what does that match mean to you?
October, I found myself matchless, and I kind of put out like, hey, I have no one to face who wants to run it in the ring. And Storm kind of saw how much of a trail I was kind of blazing in Rocket Pro, and how I was boasting about how no one's really beaten me in a long time. And at that time, I think from Hot Sauce Expo to October show, I think Storm was one of two people to have beaten me in that run. So he sent his shot and he stepped up. And I took it very personal, because to me Storm was the blemish on my record sheet, and Storm is such an influential wrestler when it comes to the Chicago scene. When you look at the pure Chicago scene, it's Storm Grayson. Like he's been one of the top guys out here, and I saw it as a chance for me to rectify my loss and come back from losing to get my win back, and even at Expo, I was in a very like cocky, carefree mood. I jumped Storm after a match one time just because I was like, listen, I'm on a roll, baby. I'll do whatever I need to do. And he got the better of me. I was very carefree. So I went into that match thinking a lot more like, I need this outside of the title or not. I needed to win the match. So it was a very big moment for me as a wrestler to grow and fix what I thought to be a mistake. And Storm brought his A game, and I brought my A game, and it was one of the most difficult matches of my career. It ended a bit messy, which is one thing I regret about it, with interference from the Idols. But I got my win back, and now Storm and I are tied 1-1, and I'm just waiting for that rubber match. I've watched that match numerous times. It's one of my favorite matches that I would say, as a professional wrestler, showed my ability. It was with the finish aside, we'll get to the finish in a second. Opening until the finish, I would say, like, it was me proving that, because there was always this sentiment that I was only getting what I was getting because I'm a Joliet kid. Obviously the hometown kid gets his rub, you know. That match, hanging in the ring with Storm to the extent that I did, kind of showed me like I'm not getting this rub because I'm from Joliet. I'm getting this rub because I'm solid in the ring, you know. So I love that match for the aspect of it, in my opinion, cemented my stance as one of the better performers in the Chicagoland area. Even that, like, to step outside of the scape of Rocket Pro for a bit, the freelance promoters were at that show watching because obviously Storm's a big part of freelance. And to this day, they still tell me that's one of their favorite matches of mine they've ever seen. Um, so that match did a lot to show me that, like, this isn't a fool's errand. This is me doing what I love and what I'm good at. Obviously, the finish had some outside involvement in it, which I asked there not to be. And did it yield a victory? Yes. Do I feel like could have achieved a victory without? Yes. So there's that gray area there. No pun intended, Damien. But outside of the finish, I feel like that's probably one of the biggest matches of importance to my career so far. Not for the victory, but for the self-confidence as a wrestler.
And it's an all-time classic. All-time classic. One of my favorite matches I've seen live. I think at that point, Josh, you weren't LIM yet, but you were sitting behind us at that show. So watching that match live, what did you think of that match?
From a standpoint of it was kind of one of my first matches seeing Gunner in a pretty much a one-on-one environment. So I was actually able to kind of appreciate what he does as a performer. But definitely one of the more outstanding matches I've seen at Rocket Pro for sure. But yeah, that's where I was at with it.
So then, I think we started talking about this, the match with Conan Lycan, Solomon Tupu, and Campbell Myers. And I think that was actually your first match as a member of LIM, or your first show as a member of LIM. So I know, that show, that match has some importance to you, and I'm sure you got some questions,
This was one of my first of you doing some of your insane, as we've already talked about. What was it like being able to work with Black and Brave brethren, and how did that come about?
So this was before no, this was after I beat up the Shelleys, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. I was still, even though I had assaulted the Shelleys, which is a wild statement to say, we were all professional enough to realize that I had the best interest of Rocket Pro in mind, because I knew at that moment I was sat, if not the top or near the top of Rocket Pro. So the bigger I made Rocket Pro, the bigger my seat was. If that makes sense?
Sure.
So I came off the Storm match, and I used to live with Conan Lycan and Solomon Tupu. It was us three in an apartment. It was some of the funnest moments of my entire life. And I've always been good friends with Campbell, and Tupu and Lycan are really great friends with Campbell. So I messaged them and I was like, hey, how would you feel about coming to Joliet? We got this great production value. We got this great ring. And like, I want to prove my merit against you guys. And they all agreed. And for me, it's like Black and Brave is held to such a high esteem in the independent scene because of our trainer, obviously. And there's always this like, well, who's the top tier of Black and Brave? Obviously, it's like your Nathan Frazers and your Steve Manders and your Zicky Dices, that kind of range, right? But like the next tier is very up in the air. Like who's the next top guy? And I felt, and I still do feel, that it goes like your Nathan Fraser, Manders, and Zicky Dice at the second level. And your next level, I truly believe, is just like your Conan Lycan, Solomon Tupu, Campbell Myers, because they are phenomenal talents, right? So for me, asking for that match was me asking for the opportunity to earn myself into that bracket of being like a solid Black and Brave guy. So we got the match permitted to happen, and I messaged the guys and said, "Hey, listen, like, what do you want?" I was being very accommodating. I said, "Do you want weapons? Do you want straightforward? Do you want to GCW this and just go buck wild the entire time?" And we agreed to make it a no disqualification match so that we can all just do to the best of our abilities what it took to win. And to me, that match, even though like all the crazy shit happened in the match, it ended with a roll up. If you guys remember, we had Spanish flies off the top, we had Uranagis to the floor, door spots, bar fights. It ended with a roll up. And to me, that shows, in my opinion, just how, I'm swearing again, just how fucking solid Black and Braves students are. We had 4 of the top guys, unsigned talent from Black and Brave, in one ring together, doing what they do best, and it was so evenly matched, it ended in a fucking roll up. So that match served 2 purposes for me. The first was to show how damn good our students are, and second was to show that like I am in maybe not the top tier of Black and Brave graduates, but I'm up there in contention for top 5, top 10.
So then that led to, after the match, being attacked by the Idols.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did do that.
Which I would presume was how it ended for your Idols tenure. How did it feel being out of the Idols at that point?
It was weird because I had personally felt I was ready to leave at that time. But I wanted to find a peaceful out because I'm young. I'm only 22 now. You know, at the time I was 20 or 21. 21. Yeah, 21. But I was smart enough to the business to know, like, these guys are running shit here. So I don't want to get on their bad side. So I was looking for a peaceful out, but I also knew that in that match with myself, Lycan, Tupu, and Myers, outside of the Idols, outside of Rock, outside of wrestling, those are my brothers right there. You know, we've all been through the same shit. And we were all beat up because we went through this crazy like 30-minute match. So I saw the Idols preparing to do what we did best, and that was take advantage of injured opponents. And I didn't want to let it happen, so I tried to peacefully de-escalate the situation, and it led their frustrations going to me. So it wasn't how I initially planned to leave the Idols, but it was a foregone conclusion that I would leave them, and that's just how it ended up turning out to be.
What was it like getting to work with a decorated veteran like Marche?
Oh, so I feel like AEW has their pillars of like Friedman and Jungle Boy and that kind of stuff, right? With the new bloods, right?
Exactly.
But you cannot start a company without your decorated veterans, you know? And for us, that was like the Marches and the Shoguns and the Grins and them, you know? So coming into Rocket Pro, I was like, listen, I might be the new dog on this yard, but this is Marche's yard. This is Shogun's yard. And I wanted to test my merit against them. So when I got the word that I would be facing Marche, to me it was again, it wasn't like, oh, I have to defend my Outer Limits title. It was more so like I need to cement my place here, you know. Marche's been all over NWA currently, Impact previously, all over the Midwest, and Marche is like that dude, like I respect him so much. So when I got the news that I was going to face him, most people be like, well, there goes my title run. For me, it's like, listen, win or lose, I need to prove to that dude in the ring right there across from me that, like, you might be now, but I'm next. So I kind of took that match with that in perspective. If I remember correctly, there was no interference in the entire match. It was just straight up Marche and Gunner. So for me, it was like, I need to do this alone. I need to do this by myself. I need to prove myself. Obviously, the finish. Do you remember the finish?
It was
you kicked out of the M80 and
kicked out of the M80, right? So for me, if you look at that outside looking in, I kicked out of his finish, and then he just started beating me past the refs count and lost. So outside looking in, you could be like, oh, well, that guy's kind of an ass for that. Screw Marche Rocket. In my opinion, I took the best Marche had. I kicked out of it. And this damn fly, he's gone again. I took the best Marche had, and I kicked out. And I proved myself so resilient that he snapped. So for that, it kind of showed me like I can hang with these guys. I have the pain tolerance, I have the resiliency, I have the speed and tenacity to hang with some of the best on the scene right now. So even though the finish is very up in the air of like, should the ref have let it go? Who would have won if it continued? To me, that showed like I might not have beat Marche Rocket 1, 2, 3 or had him tap out, but like in that moment, Gunner Brave cemented himself as one of the dudes on the Chicagoland scene. And that meant more to me than getting a pin.
You speak of how you have a high pain tolerance.
Yeah.
You probably took on one of the best choppers that our PW has to offer.
Uh-huh.
What was that like for you to be on the receiving end of that? And is that the best chopper you faced in your career so far?
It's a close call because when I was 19, do you know the team Caribbean Arrogance?
Not familiar.
I've heard the name.
Yes,
but not like.
So I can't remember which one of them it was, but I did a show in Wisconsin when I was 19, and one of them chopped my nipple off. So that was a thing. But like, so between him and Marche, it's real close. But Marche was just going. At one point in the match, I'm fighting him to the ropes. I'm fighting back. I go to hit the ropes. I'm thinking I'm gonna come and give him this nasty knee's about to hit his face, right? Hold on, let me show you. Guys, you fell.
We're back. Just dropped your phone.
We blame
I fully did. It's all right. There we go. Right? So I hit the rope. Oh, Pat!
no, Coach. Brian and Joey.
No! All right, here we are. We're back. All right. So I hit the ropes, right? I'm Marche Rocket, right? Right. I see him turn his hips and go like this. My entire life flashed before my eyes. Right there.
That was
right
the chop clothesline that you're referring to, correct?
Yeah. No, it sucked, Josh. It was terrible.
I just watched that match this morning to get prepared for this, and
I don't know where my pain tolerance comes from because I'm not the biggest guy in the world. But like, I can take an ass whooping, but at that moment, I was like, I got to save my chest here, and I think in the back, I went backstage after the match to like post match, and there was some blood trickling from my chest just from chops. So that shows a lot about the girth of that man's hand and the technique. Because you can have a massive hand and chop terribly. that man has the size and the technique to just chop your soul out of your body.
So, and I'm kind of jumping in with the question.
You're good.
So,
You bastard.
I know. What can I say? So, a lot of people say that Marche is a mentor figure in the back, and a lot of people respect him as a locker room leader. And
Yeah.
Him and Shogun, they're always backstage at the monitor checking out everybody's matches and providing feedback. So, what's your experience been like having Marche as that locker room leader?
Exactly what you said. Shogun and Marsh are held to an extremely high standard. Obviously, like all the vets are, Christian Rose and Grin and etc. I'm saying etc. because I'm intoxicated. But if you're a vet or Rocket Pro, just know I love you. But like after every match, when I was the good guy, when I was the bad guy, now that I'm kind of like the unhinged loose cannon of Rocket Pro or whatever I may be, I will go to one of them and say, "Did you see it? How do I improve?" And that's something that a lot of guys there do because they know like Shogun and Shay and Rose and Grin when he's there and the other ones that I remember when I'm sober. We respect them. We know their knowledge and their merit and all they have achieved and all they could achieve. So that's a big thing, like especially with myself and Rose and Shay and Shogun, where I'll go to them and say, listen, like, what can I do? And a lot of the growth you've seen for me as a performer when it comes to Rocket Pro, we're like, just looking at wrestling as a whole, my first few matches, it was, how can I add 17 backflips to this match? That was 18-year-old Garner just doing whatever he felt like. And now the stories I have, like the matches I have tell a story. I do all my wild shit, but they have purpose to them. And that is solely on the back of those three men and those other ones a little bit lesser than, because I mainly go to those three. So having that veteran status in the locker room and them having that veteran status and me being able to go to them and saying like, listen, what can I do to improve myself as a professional wrestler? It has done more for my career than those guys, I think, really even notice. And I had a show that I was on not too long ago in Wisconsin where like they had coaches not teaching, but like mentoring younger talent and like win or loss, whoever performed better moved on. I was a coach and Shogun was a coach, and Shogun kind of like pulled me aside and said, hey, listen, kid, like I know this story isn't about us. I'll make this short, but the growth you've shown me, I'm very proud of you. And just that simple sentiment of having the person I go to very often to listen to for advice, to tell me like, listen, you're listening to me and you're growing. It meant more to me than I think he realizes. So just having those veterans in the locker room that we can go to, whether the guys do it or not, is an extremely helpful resource to the betterment of not just us as personal wrestlers, but to the company as a whole.
And I mean, I can even speak from my own experience. We've, become characters within the show, walking out with Chet and, starting this podcast. And I'm always asking people, like, if I go out to the ring with Chet, can you watch it and then give me feedback? Or like, especially with podcasting, like JFW, Turtle and Travis, because Travis shot on me last week, so I'm going to shoot on Travis. Travis has been really, really helpful and supportive of myself. We have an antagonistic relationship on the show, but he has a lot of knowledge of podcasting and, being a character and, a lot of the stuff that veterans have, imparted to me, I've been able to take back with me, and it's been so valuable and helpful. And, it allows, we're a small part of it, but like it's allowed LIM to go to that next level, I think.
Yeah.
And it's really, really important. I always want to make sure that like I'm always asking for advice because I know I don't always do everything right. The guys don't always do everything right. I remember, I think I even asked you when I was going to start helping with setups and stuff, what's that culture like? What do I got to do? First day in the locker room, when we were going to come out with Chet for the first time, I think I asked you, okay, what do I do? My first time in there.
Yeah.
And, I asked a couple other folks that I knew in the business. So it's like, it's so important to get that advice and feedback on etiquette and how to do things the right way, because it helps you grow and helps you better understand, the business of professional wrestling.
Of course.
So, we're going to wrap up with the finale of Rocket Pro Wrestling Kicks on 66, day 513 of the Outer Limits title reign. 2 out of 3 falls, Connor Hopkins, Gunner Brave. And you want to take it home?
Yeah, we ended up seeing the unfortunate, I don't know if we want to say fortunate or unfortunate end of a pretty lengthy title run by Gunner, but I feel like Connor Hopkins is going to take on the role of making that title shine as well. And with that said, what do you feel like your legacy of your title reign should be?
It's a difficult response to this because the young tenacity of myself wants to say one thing, but the professional of myself wants to say another. If I was to lose, there's no one I'd rather to have lost to than Connor. In the business and out of the business, Connor Hopkins is one of my best friends and one of those that I respect more than anyone else. I talk to Connor once or twice a week, whether it be wrestling or just checking on each other's lives. The entire Brave Hopkins feud was built out of respect for each other because we knew that we could step in the ring with each other and have each other's best match anytime we wanted. I took the mistake on underestimating Connor for the third match because I had beaten him twice. And that's the only time we've ever faced off one-on-one was Rocket Pro. So my singles record versus Connor was 2-0. So I underestimated him and he took advantage of that. And that night he was the better performer. And I could easily sit here and say, next season, Connor, I'm coming after you and I want my title back and blah, blah, blah. But I don't think that is the story for me. I took a title out of, for lack of better terms, obscurity and made it arguably one of the top titles in the company through my work ethic and my conviction to being one of the best wrestlers in the Midwest. The best in the Midwest gimmick is me telling myself what I can achieve. It's not what I think I am. It's what I think I can achieve. The King of the North is the same. I don't believe myself to be the best wrestler. There we go. I don't believe myself to be the best wrestler in the Northern Hemisphere. I just think that with dedication, I can. So if I call it, therefore I can be it. So what I think for next season lies to me is I think next season will be the season of Connor Hopkins, continuing the legacy of the Outer Limits title. I feel like I have really cemented that title to be the workers title. That is, if you want to see a good fucking wrestling match, the Outer Limits title is coming up. And I think that Connor is the perfect person to continue that. As for me, I think the next logical step is very clear. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know what steps I need to take. But before the next season of Rocket Pro ends, I I will be Rocket Pro champion. I think it's in my cards. I think it's the next step for me. I think that a Rocket Pro built around myself being champion, Connor Hopkins being champion, Berna and Deschain being tag champs. I think that is your formula for creating one of the best damn independent companies in the Midwest off of workers working for the love of professional wrestling. So, however, whatever steps I need to take, if I need to dip back into being evil a little bit to get what I need, I will leave next season of Rocket Pro as the top dog in Rocket Pro Wrestling officially with that title. And that's what I know to be true.
So that actually is a perfect segue into there was a blockbuster announcement on the Power Hour this week that you're in a triple threat match to gain the rights into the Rocket to the Top briefcase ladder match.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And your opponents are, well, a familiar face in Christian Rose and a guy that I've seen around the Midwest a little bit in Hartenbauer.
And this was a blockbuster announcement made by Kevin Palmer. And you're going to want to definitely listen and watch back this week's Power Hour on Steve Aaron's YouTube channel to see what other matches are going to be coming up. But we do have Hartenbauer versus Christian Rose versus Gunnar Brave, and the winner goes on to the Rocket to the Top briefcase ladder match. So,
yeah. I mean, I know what I'm getting into. I'm a sensible man. Rose is a brawler. I've faced Rose. Hartenbauer is a brawler. I've faced Hartenbauer. I've beaten Rose. I've never beaten Hartenbauer. But I know them. I know what I'm getting into. And I know they have more history with each other than they have with me. So I'll just put my game plan out there right now because I know both of those men. And no matter what I say, this is going to happen. They have enough beef and animosity with each other. Their thought is beating each other, not beating me. So I'm going to go into that match knowing I'm going to get my ass beat. I'm going to take a lot of stiff shots. I'm going to take a lot of nasty bumps. But as long as I can keep getting up, it's only a foregone conclusion that I can capitalize on them making a mistake with each other. So for those of you listening to this that are coming to Rocket Pro for their season return, season premiere, that's the better word.
September 9th.
Yeah, there we go. September 9th? Jeez, I should probably write that down. We are going to have a extremely hard-hitting match, and it's going to be a very interesting styles clash. But for all the hype that I'm going to build to it, because I love hyping myself up more than anyone else, it's my match to lose. If I go in there thinking about strictly myself, I will lose. If I go in there thinking about how I can take advantage of previous relations with Hartenbauer and Rose, it's a foregone conclusion. So it really is up to the mindset I enter the show in on how the match will determine.
And, I want to wrap it up really quickly with, one final question here for you before I make my major, huge announcement.
Oh, shit.
I do have a major, huge announcement.
Oh, shit.
Coming up, but first of all, this. In the next 5 years, where is Gunnar Brave?
In a perfect world, Japan.
Okay.
Ooh.
I feel like that wrestling in Japan is held to a very high art. It is a different world there. And I'm not saying I want to live in Japan. I'm not saying I don't want to live in Japan. I just want to make my presence known. I have a few big things that I just found out about very recently that are happening for me in the future. I'm not going to say any of them, but I have some very good opportunities on my doorstep. But in 5 years, In 5 years, let's put it out there. I don't want to work a Roadhouse for the next 5 years. All right. In 5 years, I think that if I keep up my pace, I will be a dominant name in the independent scene. I will have traveled the world, and I will be in contention as one of the top independent wrestlers in the world. That is my prediction in the next 5 years.
All right, man.
Dig that.
So where can people find you this summer during the RPW off season?
My address is 20. No, kidding. I am doing a video game con tomorrow. I'm doing some stuff for Madhouse Pro Wrestling, Legacy Pro Wrestling, Freelance Underground, Freelance. Just bouncing around the Midwest mainly. And if you're somewhere that doesn't have me, tell them to book me because I like money and I like being really talented. My social medias are like Instagram is just Gunner Brave, Gunner, not AR, because in Georgia they keep booking me as AR. Listen, Georgia, it's ER.
Come on, Georgia.
Come on, Georgia. Not Snapchat. Don't add me on Snapchat. Twitter is Gunner_Brave because someone took my name apparently. Bastards.
Messages.
Yeah, you could find me on social media on local independent things. Ask your mother about me; she probably knows about me. That kind of stuff. You'll find me.
Is it like a Flash Harris situation then?
No. I just love mothers. Yeah. Happy late Mother's Day.
And happy belated Father's Day to our dad Flash Harris and our grandpa C-Red.
My guys.
All right. So now I have this major announcement as we're wrapping up the Gunner Brave old style sessions. We'll call it the old style sessions. Here we go. Not Broken Skull sessions.
I'm the only one who's fucking drank this entire time.
I had to take Tylenol, okay?
Oh my god.
Eventually I have to drive home.
And he does.
What's your announcement?
So we have the major announcement that I am about to make. So this is the third episode of the lovely Intoxicated podcast.
Don't make me break out my Travis T. Ness-ish of telling you to get to the point.
All right, I'm about to get to the point. Oh, he does do that a lot, doesn't he? So, I just want to announce that we have a very special episode next time, and we're gonna, because it's a monumental episode, we're gonna call it the 4th episode spectacular.
Oh shit.
Tony Gabagool will be back. Josh, I just want to say thank you for filling in for him as he has tested himself to whether or not he is Italian.
You suck, Josh.
Sponsor to this announcement.
Well, I don't know. Is there?
There is. Where's the Gabagool? It's like, where's Waldo? Basically, a picture book for all the baby the Grecas in your life.
Hell yeah.
And the promo code for getting 70% off is Tony Gabagool isn't Italian.
Okay, I'm gonna pause my major announcement. So I thought you guys had everything together, and then you guys were going back and forth on the last show. Gabagool took a shot at you at the first show. So when you guys had that beer at spring break, what the hell happened afterwards? Because Gabagool won't tell me.
Well,
what happened?
Breaking news. I never did drink that beer at the last show.
You didn't drink with Gabagool?
I did not.
So that's why he's
still a little pissed off and wants to has it out for me at the moment.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, he drank said beer.
Oh, he drank your beer, so you're mad at him, but then he was mad at you for not drinking.
Exactly.
You could have just bought another beer for yourself, right?
Yeah, but that's, there.
There is a lot of drama in the LIM.
This is absurd.
There is a lot of drama in the LIM, Gunner. I am so sick of dealing with it.
First, I hear I'm not the third episode extravaganza. It was the fourth episode extravaganza. Now I hear people are stealing beers and not drinking beers. Pat Ackerman, what is this forsaken announcement you have to make so I can go drink more alcohol?
Right, okay, time back in on the announcement. So the fourth episode spectacular. What's going to happen on it? We have a lot of plans that we can't tell you about, but you're going to be watching out for it on the LIM page.
Oh my God.
So fourth episode spectacular coming the week after the 4th of July.
That's it?
That's it.
There's no name of a guest, anything to draw us in other than that.
I have a special announcement. We have a fourth episode. What is this?
It's the fourth episode spectacular.
Oh my God.
Just the spectacular.
Here's the thing, we have dog years as far as our episodes, so the fourth episode is realistically our 100th episode.
This is why Gabagool's not a great co-host, is because at least I would have given them an announcement. He signed off on that.
All right, do you got an announcement? You guys
haven't got me in the loop. You guys didn't have me let me sign off on it. It's like a command.
Well,
I'm supposed to see this stuff.
He's the co-host. I had to bring him on here as the co-host to try to calm him down, but clearly that hasn't worked.
Apparently not.
It hasn't worked. The sit down didn't work. The co-host, I got a whole bunch of problems. My birthday, and I got to figure out all this shit. God damn. All right. Well, Gunner.
Well, it does sound like there's some sort of expo on your birthday, but
I'm
not sure what that has to do with it.
I don't know. Gunner, it has been a pleasure to have you on the show. Had such a good time talking with you the past few hours, and thank you for coming on.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. I'm disappointed I'm the only drunk one right now. I gave you bastards the name, and I'm the only one being drunk. And it's okay. Next time, if there is, we're all going to pregame, because I feel like I gave a lot of informative responses, but I feel like if I listen back, I'm going to sound absolutely sloshed, because I am. So next time we do this damn podcast, everyone's drinking.
Fourth episode spectacular. Everybody's getting drunk.
There you go.
Oh, okay. The one I'm not on, you're all going to get drunk. This bull.
We're going to have you back on.
I hate you guys so much.
We love you, Gunner.
We love you.
I know you do.
We love you.
So, are you going to have shirts when you come around for the next season?
Hell no. No, because I got the new gear and it looks nothing like the current gear. It's a bit more like, so I gotta find a new design. I probably could. Yeah, let me look into some things.
Sorry,
remind me what I'm
to worry about.
Yeah, thanks, Josh, for giving me another headache to worry about with you and Gabagool.
Yeah, so Pat, because Josh just said that, you need to remind me when I'm sober to make new shirts.
I got you, brother.
Thanks, man.
I'll second that.
So, Gunner, again, thank you so much for coming on, and I think this is where we're going to close the tab on this episode. So, this has been Gunner Brave. This has been PX, the podcast Papa.
And Gilla Monster, of course.
And have a good night, and shut up, Santino.
Yeah, shut up, Santino.
Shut up,
suck.
Santino.
Shut up, Santino.
Yeah.
What do you hear? What do you say? Better watch episode 4, okay?